Welcome back to another episode of Unpacking Life with the box and the basket. You got it right this time. So recently, we got into a discussion of what the American dream is, and I don't think that it's what it used to be. Back in the day, it was married couple, 2.5 kids, white picket fence, and they own their house. What is it now? What do you think?
We'll get into that in a second.
Just a brief synopsis of what you think it is.
What it is now?
Yeah. Working for yourself, an entrepreneur.
Having freedom.
No kids.
Being rich.
Yeah.
Having a white BMW.
A white BMW?
Yeah.
Oh,
all those things.
All right. So before we get into all of this, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And leave us some comments down below. Let us know how you feel, whether it's good or bad. All the bad. So I will let Vanessa take lead because she is very passionate about this.
I am?
From what I understood.
So what are we going to cover? Hustle culture.
Yeah.
Keeping up with the Joneses.
Uh-huh.
And how it relates to the American dream.
Okay.
Because...
What's first?
Hustle culture. Because I Googled it and I have it right here in front of me.
Nobody cares about the literal definition of hustle culture.
I mean, it kind of makes sense. It says hustle culture is when a workplace environment places an intense focus on productivity, ambition, and success with little regard of rest, self-care, or any sense of work-life balance. Which is very true. It's not, I just think that it's not like that just specifically in like the work life. I think it's more like overall.
Yeah.
Like, do you have a side job? Do you have a side business?
Right.
I haven't been in like a corporate work environment in over 10 years. So I don't know if that really is like the case for people at their office jobs, you know, like, oh, you have to hustle, hustle, hustle. I think in general in life, people are like, well, you have to hustle. You're not doing enough. You don't have this yet. You don't have.
I know even with like the PD, it's almost like, at least for me, when I was there, it was almost like I was not brainwashed, but like driven by something to do like extra. I didn't, like, I was a really, really good cop. I did my job well. I knew what I was doing. And I would go out and do extra stuff. Like they call it OIA, Officer Initiated Activity. When it was downtime, when there weren't like calls coming in or we're not getting dispatched to certain things. So I'd go look for guns, drugs, and money. So it was, and it's all fun and dandy to do it. But then at the end of the day, it's like you're taking some of the stuff off the street, so it's good. But then I'm putting myself in a situation where I could get sued. I could get shot. I could possibly shoot somebody. Hopefully not. And like, is it really worth it for some drugs? Is it really worth it for, a small property crime? So property crimes and persons crimes are completely different. Property crime is like if somebody breaks into your car or breaks into your house, but there's no person there to like physically get hurt or possibly get hurt. So that's what insurance is for, right? That's what we would tell people all the time to try to make them feel, but it's still shitty. Like I don't want to get my car broken into or my house broken into. But it's like we're running ourselves ragged for what? At the end of the day, especially in Colorado where we lost our qualified immunity so we can get held personally responsible. So I think that's where like a lot of people, their goal is to get higher within the company or the police department So obviously, the more work you do, the more hustle you put into your job, then the higher you can get, the more achievements you receive. The pay is still pretty much the same. You get maybe a 10% increase.
Mhm.
Um, and with corporate companies, it's like you're making this one person who owns the company a crap ton of money. So you do some companies, I guess you get bonuses and stuff like that.
Mhm.
But I think that's where the hustle culture in the corporate company comes in, where
Yeah.
like you're just trying to bust your butt to look good for the higher ups and then get a promotion. So they throw you a
Right.
bone once in a while.
But it's like, I feel a lot of times people get to the next level, and
Hmm.
before they're even content, they're already, okay, now this is next.
Right.
And if that's what you want, that's fine. But I think a lot of times they don't even want to do that.
Yeah.
It's just like a checklist. Like, okay, I did this, now I did this, now I did this, and now I'm going to get here, which
Right.
kind of ties in into the American dream concept. Like, it used to be you get married, you have 2.2 kids, you have a house in the suburbs, you have 2 cars, you do this, you go on
Hmm.
vacation every year. And that's fine and dandy, but I feel like more people are like, that's maybe not for me.
Hmm.
But then it's still kind of like, well, when are you going to get married? When are you guys going to have kids? Like,
All
I
that
don't,
social pressure.
right. It's like, you don't have to check boxes. You could be,
Hmm.
I think that's the problem, is that you're constantly in pursuit of something else
Right.
that you never enjoy where you're at currently.
Yeah.
So then a lot of people are depressed,
Overworked.
understimulated, everything. It's
Yeah.
just like this cycle, I think, of what can I be doing better? Like, just
Hmm.
be happy with, look at where you started and where you're at now is
Yeah.
already much better. Why can't you just be happy with it? Is like in real estate, it's really super hustle culture heavy
Hmm.
because you work for yourself basically. You don't get paid unless
You put in the
you're
work.
selling, right?
Yeah.
Like if you're not selling houses, you're not getting paid. So it's, I even sometimes like have to unfollow people or like mute people, or because everything around us is so like, oh, I did this, now I'm going to do this and this and that, this and
Hmm.
that, so that you get lost in what do you want as opposed to what are the other people doing. Well, like, oh, I sold 30 houses. Well, this person sold 50 houses next year. Here's how we can help you to sell 40 next year. Here's
Right.
how we can help you to sell 100 next year. So it's always like everything is geared towards how can you do better? How can you, there's never like, we're going to teach you or we're going to talk about how you could just be happy with where you're at.
Hmm.
How can you maximize or leverage your life even more so you can enjoy it even more? It's very rarely do you hear like, okay, you're good where you're at.
Right.
Like, we have a house, our kids are fed, they're healthy, we go on vacation, like all the things that are important to us, we're
We're
doing. So I
achieving. Yeah.
don't feel this intense need of like opening a huge brokerage, having 100 people under me, doing all this stuff where I think it comes with age, because when I was younger, I would get lost in that a lot easier and quicker.
Yeah. Same. Sometimes it's necessary though. Like,
Mhm.
for example, so Dion, we just got him his phone.
Mhm.
So our son's 14, just turned 14 a couple months ago in February. We had like what's the name of the phone?
It's Gab Wireless.
Yeah, so it's super basic. Like you can text, you can call, and that's about it. Like there's no internet, there's no apps for it, like nothing, just super basic.
Mhm.
Um, and then I went to DC on like his 8th grade school trip, and he was pretty much the only kid without a phone, and I felt crappy. I was like, I felt bad for him. He had his iPod, but there's no like cell service on it, obviously. So when he had Wi-Fi, he could download, and he asked me if he could download like Snapchat and like a couple other games or something. So we monitor it. Um, so I felt bad for him, and he's always done well. Like he's a really good kid, helps us out a lot. And then now he's doing basketball and like doing all these sports and activities. So we're just proud of him. So we just want to just give him like an early graduation gift and
From middle school.
For middle school, because he goes to high school next year. So I went and bought him a iPhone SE, and it's good. It's just a regular iPhone, and he was like over the moon for it.
He
And
cried.
yeah, and so this morning I set up an app to kind of mirror his phone so I can, keep an eye on all his messages and stuff like that. And so he kept getting Snapchat messages, and they were from all his friends, and he was, texting them all like, "Hey, save my number. This is my new phone." And every single friend was like, "What kind of phone did you get?" And they're like, he said an iPhone SE, and they're like, "Oh, I have the 13, or oh, I have the 14, or whatever the newest one is."
Like they
Uh,
can't just be happy. Like, oh,
yeah,
that's great for you. It has to
and
be
a
like
couple of them were
one up.
like, "Cool, man. Like, I got your number saved," and just saving his number. But that's what we're talking about. It's just kind of keeping up with the Joneses. Like, it's not a competition. We've never taught our kids that it's a competition. Because Sally has, the newest iPhone doesn't mean you need to have it. And that's a hard part of parenting as well, is like trying to, like, we're not that way where I'm like, "Hey, Joe so and so just bought, a brand new house and it's huge and it's awesome. Like,
Great.
good for them."
Yeah.
We're comfortable where we're at. I don't feel like we have to compete with anybody because they don't give a crap at the end of the day.
Nobody cares.
It's like, and that's actually my screensaver. It's like, no one cares. Keep working.
Yeah.
So,
that there is a flaw in that, because you should not just keep working. You should also enjoy your life.
yeah, but you got to work towards your goals is how I take it, right? Like
the goals that
we
are
set for
actually
ourselves.
your goals, not society's goals.
Like, I'm not like, I need to make 100,000 this year so that I can buy, the car and show Joe up. It's not like that. Like, for me, it's like nobody cares about my success. Nobody cares about my failures. Like, I need to keep working for myself to reach the goals that I've set for myself and for our family.
I agree. I think so. You were raised by
wolves,
an immigrant, right, from Mexico.
Yeah.
And I was raised in Germany, which is a very different culture. And I think that's why I'm a little bit different there. Like, I'm going to ramble. So in Germany, in Europe, it could be different. Like, I haven't lived there in years, but when I was growing up there, it was never like a keeping up with the Joneses kind of scenario.
Yeah.
First of all, like, people rarely own homes. If they own a home, it's a family home that has been in the family for years and years. So the youngest family usually lives in the middle, and then like their parents usually live upstairs, and then another generation of the family usually lives in the basement, and then as people pass away, they move up and down in the house. But it's very uncommon that, people own their houses or that they own huge houses. We grew up, we were 4 kids, we had 1 bathroom, and it was perfectly normal. When my parents built a house, it was more Americanized, and we had 3.5 bathrooms.
Yeah.
So, well, actually 2.5, because the kids' bathroom, they just split in 2, like one big room over the garage into 2 sections, one for 2 girls and one for 2 boys. But that is just to say that, like, in other countries, other cultures, it's not like, okay, I have to check this box of getting married. A lot of people in Germany don't get married.
Yeah.
We have several friends that have been together 10, 15, 20 years, and they have no intention of getting married. And when they do get married, they spend maybe 1,000 euros.
Yeah.
Like Yana's wedding, she got a dress, they went to the courthouse, they went on to like have coffee, cake, and they were done.
Right.
Of course, like, American culture is like slowly seeping into it. And there are now some people that have the bigger weddings and it's more expensive. But why?
I don't know.
Just why? I just don't understand it. So I have a different perspective on that. And obviously I've been here for a long time. So I've been subjected to it and I have been caught up in it.
Yeah.
But for me, I don't want to keep working and then get the next house and get the next car and do this and get the next purse or get this. Like, I buy stuff when I want them. I think about it. And if it makes me happy, I get it. or if it's something that we want to accomplish or do together, then we do it.
Right.
And then that's that. I don't feel like we have to upgrade our house all the time, or like,
well, you tried, but
I did try. But I mean, we've grown, right? Like, I'm not saying that I've always had it figured out, and I probably don't have it figured out now.
no,
I'm sure
for sure.
goals are going to change as we get older.
Yeah.
But I think it's just a slippery slope.
Yeah. I think in the American culture, like you were saying, like it's so embedded in people to be successful, to have money, and having money is like a sign of success here in the US.
I was going to say, what do you think success means?
Yeah, I think money is one of the biggest factors in success here in the US. Because, like, even from elementary school, kindergarten, they're like, you got to study. Because if you don't study, you're going to be, flipping burgers at Burger King. And there's nothing wrong with that. As long as it fits your lifestyle, you make enough money to be happy. I think that's what success is. But I think in the US, like in school, like I said, they try to push the narrative of you having to go to college, you having to have a degree, and then that's when you will be successful.
And
But
I think that's a crock of shit.
yeah, unless you go to college and get it for free, then I don't think it's worth it, because you come out of college and the university with debt. And doctors, for example, they come out with, and lawyers, like they come out with like hundreds of thousands of dollars in debt just to get this education.
But then it's like a double whammy, because then they also have to fit in with the other doctors. So they have to buy the big house and buy the expensive car and like have this, oh, you're a doctor? Oh, look how fancy. Who cares?
Yeah.
So
it's kind of like a catch-22 with that. But to me, we're very successful. We have healthy kids. Me and you have a pretty good relationship most of the time.
Here we go. Shots fired.
I mean, we got our house at a really good time where it was really affordable. It's big enough we're not going to outgrow it. We have careers that let us plan and dictate our days and time. And to me, that's success. I'm very happy, and I hope you can find it too.
I think, I don't know. It's just so hard for people, I think, to find what's going to make them happy because of social media and like the news and everything around you, that you got, everything kind of gets like blurry. Like, oh, well, they have that. And I don't think a lot of people feel right away like just happiness for the other person.
Right.
It's more like, well, do I want that? Like, what do you want?
Or why don't I have
that? It's okay not to have those things. Like, we have friends that tell us, like, we don't want to have kids. I'm like, that's great.
Yeah,
good for you. Like, I don't blame you at all. I don't know. I'm saying just a lot, but
I know.
The keeping up with the Joneses and the hustle culture, I think they kind of go like intertwined, because you're hustling to keep up with the Joneses because so-and-so got this. And it's like a fine line, because I believe that you are the sum of the people that you're around. Right. So you should be around people that have similar goals to you, that are not like, going to pull you down. My dad always said it's like crabs in a bucket. If a crab is trying to get out of the bucket, the other crab's going to pull them back down. You don't want to be around people like that.
No. And
if you remove those people, your equation will start looking better and more aligned with your goals. So I think, I don't know where I was going with that. It's important to be around people that make you better and inspire you.
Yeah.
But also that they're genuine and that they're not around you to like push you for their own agenda, or that you're not around them and you want the same things that they're achieving.
Right.
I think that instead of like leveling up and getting the new house or buying the new car or buying this new purse, maybe you should invest that money in some therapy and figure out why do I always want these things? Because at the end of the day, so I have sellers that are selling everything and they're moving to Scotland. Okay.
Yeah.
It's much slower lifestyle.
Lifestyle.
And some of their family and friends are not supportive. And I'm like super supportive because
Yeah.
I know they're going to have a much slower paced lifestyle, which is kind of what I'm a fan of. I like working to like achieve the goals, but not living to work. Like sometimes you get caught up in that. You work so much that you don't live your life anymore. So what is the point of you discouraging someone from living a slower lifestyle? Do you want to live a slower style?
I think it's selfish reasons.
And probably jealous.
Maybe.
Because they don't have the balls to drop everything. And then, but that's what we were talking about. Like they're getting rid of all these things. And in that process, they're figuring out like, I'm just buying stuff to buy it. I don't need any of this because now they're taking only their essentials out of country because it's a fortune to ship everything. Right. And houses are much smaller. Like people live in apartments, flats, and they're perfectly okay with that. And in that process, just figuring out like you're just buying stuff to buy stuff. And I think we're so consumption heavy in the United States, like at every corner, it's so easy to get everything. Everything gets delivered to you right away. You have it quickly so that the overconsumption is now you consumed all this stuff. Now you have credit card debt. Now you have to work more for what? Yeah. You have no memories because you were working and you were stressed out to get all this stuff. Well, when you're 50, 60, 70, 80, however long you make it, was a little bit more of it, then you're not going to look back and say, oh, when I was 35, I bought this really cool vase or I bought this really nice purse and, just things that don't really have any value. But you are going to remember, oh, I took my kids on a vacation or, oh, we have this memory here because I didn't have to work the weekends and I had evenings off and we did all these things. That's what life should be. And I mean, if that's not what you want, that's fine. I just don't see how you would not want that.
Just do what makes you happy. We're not the type of people to compete with other people or want what other people want just because. Like if it works for us and we want it, then we'll try to achieve it. But we're not going to want the new car just because somebody else bought the new car. Or we're not going to want the big house because somebody else just bought the big house. But I mean, if that's what makes you happy and that's what makes you feel better, then have at it. Who cares what other people think? But do it for the right reasons, I guess is what I'm trying to say. Like, do it for yourself. Don't do it because Sally has something better.
And I think a lot of times, like, it's natural, right? To be like, well, sometimes you get into that and you're like, well, what about this? Do I want this? And for me, I reflect more like, what's wrong with me or what am I missing inside that is making me want that? Right. Because it's not that I want it. It's something else. So therapy is highly encouraged. Do some soul searching and figure out like what you want. I think what was interesting, so I did some research on the topic and what other people think and feel. And they interviewed like CEOs and business leaders and owners and asked them what they thought the American dream was. And just in like less than 5 words. One of them said personal freedom, which I think is very accurate. The pursuit of happiness. You know what I'm saying?
What is that though?
Well, I think everybody has to choose for their own self what their happiness is going to be. What am I trying to say? What their happiness is going to be made up of. Like, are you going to be happy as a mom? Are you going to be happy single? Are you going to be happy married? Like what? In a big house, little house, this car, that car. I can kind of see that. One person said undefinable. I think it is undefinable because it's
Yeah,
So
there's no one
individual.
solid definition.
It used to be very defined. It
Yeah.
was like getting
Right.
married, getting the house, having a stable job,
Hmm.
retiring at 65 and doing all these things.
Yeah.
One of them was a continuous journey.
Yeah.
You think so?
Makes sense.
I think
Because
so.
success today is going to be different 10 years from now, for us at least.
Well, yeah.
Right? Like,
Kids are small.
yeah. So I think success for me right now, like I said, is being married to you, having the kids that are healthy, active. But in 10 years, when Roman's 15, Dion's going to be 24, and Aubrey would be 19, like my success would be them being good humans, you know, having their own success, hopefully graduating high school and
But even that,
moving.
you didn't graduate high
Yeah.
school.
So,
It's like, I don't know.
but I had a tougher path than,
They will graduate high
yeah.
school, I think.
So that's why, like, I guess my success in 10 years, the way I see it now, would be the kids' success and then us being even better than we are now.
So it is a continuous journey.
Yeah.
Because you grow as people
Mm-hmm.
and your life changes.
Right.
Another one was the American dream is balance.
I hate this.
This is a trigger word for Ricky.
I feel like every job always promotes, we have great work-life balance. We have great work-life balance. And then you get in there and they're like, we need volunteers to work overtime. We need volunteers to, do this. We need volunteers to do that. Like taking you away from your family. So I broke my leg in 2021. I was out for a whole year. I came back in September of 21 or 22. And
this was when he was a cop, not a real estate agent. On crutches, I would have him showing houses.
So I came back September of 22, like back to full duty. And we already had a vacation planned, right? For like a month later or something. But because I was out for that whole year, I didn't have much vacation saved or PTO. And so I took this vacation, and it was kind of ask for forgiveness rather than permission situation. And I was like, we already had plans, we had stuff booked. Like, I'm going on this vacation, and I think I had enough for maybe a week out of the 2 weeks that I had. So I went on the vacation and I came back, and then I took the second half unpaid. I was like, I don't need to get paid. And they gave me hell because I didn't request, or I didn't have permission from the police chief, very top CEO, to take unpaid time off. And I was just like, how does that make any sense? Like, how is that? Like, I have to ask for permission for you not to pay me to take a vacation with my family. And that was kind of like a big eye opener too. And so they made it a huge freaking thing. My commander had to like write a little blurb in my year-end evaluation saying that, I took vacation without asking for permission to take the unpaid portion out. And I'm like, dude, this is so stupid. Like, it just made no sense. So the freedom is definitely like a big thing. And the whole work-life balance thing, it's work and then balance when you can. Not a work-life balance at work. Because even other companies that I worked, like when I worked for USA, I felt like they had a decent one where they actually cared about your time. They even implemented the what's the baby leave for dads?
Oh, paternity leave. Yeah.
For dads. So that was awesome. But at the end of the day, like, it's still their bottom line. Like, they need people to come in, they're gonna ask people to come in.
But what I don't understand is if your workers feel appreciated and like are rested and have balance, they're gonna perform better.
Yeah.
You don't need to be somewhere for 40 hours. A lot of times, like when I worked in corporate America, I would work for like 3 or 4 hours and then I was done. I was just sitting around.
Yeah.
Like the concept is outdated. And it just, there's so many.
Yeah, whoever invented the 40-hour work week, fuck you.
Cut that out!
No, leave it in.
That's oh, so sorry for my husband.
I don't not mean it. I mean, I don't have to work. I feel like I work more than 40 hours now doing real estate.
Yeah.
But yeah, I hate the whole work-life balance thing.
Yeah.
I think it should be life, balance your life.
Mhm.
Not like work is just there to bring funds to do extra stuff.
Yeah.
So
I don't know.
I hate it.
It's kind of I mean, the one of the things that they did when they interviewed the CEOs, one of them said that the American dream is starting a successful business.
Mhm.
And the other one said endless opportunities for all. So I think that's kind of true because in the United States, you have more opportunities to create businesses, to
Mhm.
create pathways for yourself where you can have more freedom.
Right.
Where in other countries, there is more balance because they treat their employees better
Mhm.
and there are better systems, better, more time off, things like that. But here, you can have it if you want to create it for yourself. So I think that is like a lot of people still want to move to the United States, no matter how messed up or in shambles it is.
Right.
There are opportunities that if I, for example, hadn't started a real estate business 8, 9 years ago, we wouldn't be sitting here today boring you with our podcast. You wouldn't have been able to retire from being a cop. We
Yeah.
wouldn't have the freedom that we have today.
Mhm.
The fact that we're recording now, our kids get off in an hour and a half. I'm going to be home. Nobody's picking them up. We don't need a
Yeah.
nanny. Like, you're going to show houses. I'm going to be home. Like, we have a lot of flexibility
Right.
because we've built it for ourselves. So, a lot of people, like, if you're unhappy with where you are or how your life is kind of like panning out, there are so many opportunities. You just have to find them and go after them. So, a lot of times I just think that if you want it bad enough, and like if freedom is what you want, which is we love freedom, like
Yeah.
we
Absolutely.
work so that every year we can have more freedom.
Yeah.
Like we love our clients, we love what we do, so it doesn't feel like work. But when we're in 10 years, 20 years, when we have grandkids, when we're even older than we are now, then we want to have the luxury of being financially stable to have more freedom than we have to work.
Yeah.
Period.
And so this is what I was gonna say earlier. I was all about being a cop and loved being a cop,
Mhm.
and I still loved it up until I left.
Mhm.
Like it's a great job. If you ever get the opportunity, do it. Um, it's really rewarding, and I loved it. I loved it, and that's all I ever wanted to do
Mhm.
was like be in law enforcement. So I got to live that out, and then when I broke my leg, I remember, and I think I've talked about this before, but the doctor had said that I would be back to like 100% in like 3 to 4 months.
Mhm.
And I was all about it. I was like, I'm going to rehab so hard and come back as quick as I can and join my team again and yeehaw. And
Giddy up, cowboy.
yeah. And I was out for those 3 months. Um, and it was just like, I didn't hear from work. I was trying to get help from work. And they were just like, no, like it didn't happen at work. It happened at a work event.
Mhm.
And they just kind of threw me off to the side. And that kind of like opened my eyes to like, all right, they don't actually care about me. Like I'm
No.
just a number to them. I'm just
Mhm.
a body on the road to, run calls. Um, and then I ended up being out. I had 3 surgeries total. I ended up being out that whole year, and I kind of got over on them with the the way I was out for that whole year, because I was only working 1 day a week, but still getting paid my full salary. So that was nice. But it opened my eyes to like the other side where I had that freedom. I was home most of the time. I was making all the kids' events. I was, here for bedtimes.
Yeah.
If friends had get-togethers, I was able to go to every single one, with permission, obviously.
We go to
And
most of them together.
yeah, and so it was just like having that freedom was like amazing for that
Mhm.
year. And even though I was dealing with all the BS of my leg and all these surgeries and stuff,
You were
but
in pain, yeah.
yeah, it was great. And the grass was definitely greener on the other side. So if you ever get the chance or the opportunity or the drive to create your own business and work for yourself and make your own schedule, I would highly recommend it. And I think you've told me before that like once you are your own boss and once you work for yourself, like you never want to go back.
No.
And it's been great so far. And I think that's my American dream, just being able to be home with the family and spending all the time together that we can.
Yeah.
Because obviously, life is short. So I always hear about these like older people. They're like, hug your kids, because the time flies
I'm gonna
by.
cry.
Like time flies by, and you want as much of that time with them as possible. So just doing what you want to do. Come
Okay,
on,
I think
dude,
we should
suck it up. Jesus.
we should end
But
it on that. That was a great closing
yeah.
argument.
So whatever your success is, make it your success and forget what anybody else thinks of. As long as you're happy, then do it.
Don't get caught up in keeping up with anybody.
Yeah.
Keep up with yourself and what makes you happy, and that's it.
So thank you very much for watching, listening, however you're getting our content. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.
All the things, please.
And we appreciate y'all. And we'll see you next time.